That felt better.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
I kind of am too. All right. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Ralph.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Repulsive TV. It's me, Ralph,
And Jason.
and Jason.
Like
And-
always.
Yep, it's been a hot minute since we've done this. We haven't done it for a little bit because both of us have been rather busy, but yeah, man,
Yeah, adult life is taking over.
it's kicked in.
It's a crappy time of year anyways for, especially for educators.
Yeah,
It's a lot. It is a lot. And people that say teachers shouldn't complain about getting 3 months off, well, you don't get paid for those months.
That's true, yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, you either need to like save like a maniac or
Yeah.
find another job.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
and
bum
yes,
status.
you do need it off. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need that off. Trust me. After hanging out in a classroom environment day in day out,
Yeah.
that's why parents are so excited for summer to end. Same reason teachers are excited for summer to begin.
Yeah. They need someone to babysit. Free babysitting.
Yeah, exactly. Free babysitting, possible child rearing, life skills.
Someone's
coaching.
gotta raise their kids.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
That's what I did. I sent my kids off to have someone raise them, and now I raise other people's. All right, so we didn't. We had some ideas on what we wanted to do. I know Ralph had a few things that he's been doing lately. Concert you want to talk about?
Yes.
I think we should start with that.
Okay, so recently, so I was thinking after watching a lot of our shows, we don't often dabble into horror punk. I think the only time I've even mentioned horror punk really has been like the one time we talked about the Misfits album, like in some like stack of records I was talking about that were influential. But I think it would be cool to sort of at least some sort of relatives of that scene. Horror punk really, okay, so my take on horror punk has always been that it was the same spirit of punk rock, but, you know, bands like TSOL, 45 Grave, I guess even like the death rock scenes of like Christian Death and stuff like that, and then also obviously the Misfits being the biggest of the bunch and the Damned.
The Damned.
It was the same energy, same like ferocity, same all the like upbeat fun and sort of like fuck you attitude of punk, but with just a much more macabre, death obsessed imagery, horror movie imagery.
Which I think when it was done was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I still think it is.
I do too. I think it's just sort of blended, and there's so many other bands that have like gotten with I think that imagery. It wasn't so like if you think back to like if you would have considered early '80s Misfits, other than if you think of like a very theatrical band, you had Kiss, you had Alice Cooper, Guar wasn't even there yet.
No.
As far as I mean, there are theatrics in bands like
I mean, David Bowie, but
Yeah,
that
stuff
was
like that.
different. I wouldn't consider that theatric. Well,
I do. It's theatric, but not in like a horror imagery
right.
way.
Okay, so horror imagery, there wasn't I can't
much.
think of much.
But now it's even in like the mainstream,
Right.
So even bands that are like, I don't know. There's a lot. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head now. But
Who?
You think
What
of
era?
something like think of like Slipknot, huge. Marilyn Manson, huge. Bands
Who
that like
was it
topped
in
the charts.
Who in the 80s? The only thing I could think of
Ghost.
would have been in the 80s or the early 90s. Well, the early 90s you got into Guar at that point. But the theatrics would have been the goth.
Yeah,
The gothy
definitely
bands.
that.
But so like what's his name? Oh darn it. The band that one band
Yeah, that one.
with the Halloween song, with the that one Halloween song. Yeah, they changed. Oh my God, they completely changed who they were halfway through. The first half of their career, Al Jorgensen.
Oh, Ministry. Oh, that Halloween. Every day's Halloween.
Yeah.
Ministry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? I just completely forgot that.
That's okay.
But like Ministry,
like
and
in
then
the 40s,
pretty much all I can think about in the 80s would have been the kind of electronic industrial
Yeah.
bands that took on the gothy. I mean, well, I guess Susie and the Banshees
Yeah.
could have fallen in there.
Yeah.
That were somewhat dark looking.
But didn't necessarily have like. Well, yeah, I mean, there was the theatrics in that respect. And I guess
don't know. I don't know anyone that was. And there's probably like maybe. Well, I guess 45 Grave, Haunted Garage. was probably around then with Dookie Flyswatter. And
I guess, yeah. When did the like sort of psychobilly scene kick off? Was that later?
I want to say that wasn't even until the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Well, no.
Like Demented Argo.
I think they were.
That was 80s.
I remember,
think, right?
yeah, late 80s, I think.
So it was still
I
later.
got into them in like 94.
And Guar came like in the 80s too.
Yeah.
Anyways, so my thinking is that bands like that were super original because there were so few people doing it. And maybe I'll be proven wrong with some research, but off the top of my head.
We needed Tony.
Yeah, we
here.
needed Tony Matt
Tony
Pitfield to come
reference.
and correct us. But so when we started in like 2000, there were already like a well-established group of bands that had been doing very like theatrical stuff. So
Right.
it was still definitely like the odd man out in the punk world.
Mhm.
And I wanted to talk about something, but yeah. So the I think that it became a little. The reason why I think I'm not as into the scene now is because there was like a real explosion of it, and I don't know. I just feel like it became it was sort of very much eating itself because it was such based on so few bands. So if you want to be a punk band, this is kind of my point, I guess. What I wanted to make is if you want to be a punk band, there's a million different influences to draw from, or not even draw from punk as a sonic influence, but then you could just play it faster and you're a punk. But I think horror punk bands tend to draw from we're all pulling from the same well, unless you have some outside influences. And I think so overall horror punk wasn't like my go-to genre to listen to.
Me neither.
While I did love the scene, as far as like I thought it was much like I am a very political guy, but my politics are so far outside of what would be considered acceptable in the punk world that it's like why bother? It would be like wearing a MAGA hat to a frickin' I don't know, La Raza parade or something.
I have no idea what that meant.
Well, MAGA is in like the red.
Yeah.
La Raza is like frickin'.
Oh, I got you.
The very militant.
Right. Well, I think the thing with
Or maybe Antifa.
with horror punk and what it was is we got into it for the imagery because originally we liked the imagery and dressing up and doing that sort of thing. And then I felt like we were required to listen to the bands.
Yeah.
The ones we played with, I listened to, but I didn't go out of my way to look at any other bands.
Me
and
either, too much.
psychobilly, anyone that I got into never had the imagery.
And when
I was never into those to the monstery ones.
Yeah.
But I will say this: Cole and I just went to Monsterpalooza last weekend, the weekend before, and I told him if you're gonna be spooky and in your Halloweeny stuff, don't be 40 and 50. No offense, I know half of you are our friends, but don't put on a show. If it's who you are, it's who you are. But don't go
Don't make
out
it an act.
because you're going to Monsterpalooza. All of a sudden, you have to put on who you used to be. Go pull out your old utility kilt.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean.
Although, as much as I always wanted one, I'm glad I never got one because now when I see guys in them, I'm just like, what the hell, bro?
But it just because don't put on your new rocks and your utility kilt and a t-shirt that's a little too small, and try to put your earrings back in and redo them. Just because if you're going and dressing up for it, cool. But if you're doing it and still trying to, just don't pretend.
Yeah.
Because it's not every day. We still have to be people.
Yeah,
and I know
exactly.
a lot of people are
Eventually, you got to kind of grow up enough to get a real job. Maybe that means for a lot of our friends, you could be a tattoo artist, so there you can look whatever you want.
But just make sure you're being honest with you. I mean,
you grow and mature. It's dumb to stagnate, and if it's stagnating to stay as like you're not, I don't know. It's not a knock on if that's your shtick, go for it. But
I mean, I still wear the same boots I've always worn.
I know I still pretty much dress the same.
I still dress the same, but now I'm not making sure that everything has a bat on it.
Right.
Or and the people that do that's totally cool. Because it's something you want to stay with, but it had nothing to do with anything.
I know that we kind of got off on a tangent, but to bring it back around, so I think what I was saying is, so as much as I haven't really dabbled too much into horror punk bands I'm a huge fan of, I'm not that conversant in that many bands that are out there, but I still I love a theatric band. I love it. And one of the coolest, I only figure it's like tangential to horror punk only because of the visual aspect of it. So there's and I love black metal because of just the extremity and the just oddball, like as far out there as it gets, and their visual. You know, they have wear this different styling of the makeup, but it's still the black and white makeup that we do. So I've always been drawn to that and the visual aspect. But one guy in particular, I have always just had a nerdy obsession with, only because for the longest time I never even knew anybody that thought it was cool. Everybody thought it was dorky, but I thought it was so cool, was Mortiis. And so I saw Mortiis the other night, and I'll show a little clip somewhere in here that Elodie took with her camera, or with her cell phone, which is way better than my quality. And we got this, and man, it was awesome. So Mortiis, here's his little background. So back in the I guess early 90s, mid 90s, Emperor of the black metal band, they're still one of the first big forerunners of black metal when it was a real nascent scene with Mayhem, and I guess they had just sort of been influenced by Venom and stuff like that. It was real early. He was part of the original lineup. He was the bass player, and then he also wrote most of the lyrics on their first EP, and then they immediately kicked him out because what he always says, and I am assuming is true, is due to a bad attitude. So I think it's, and I'm sure brings that up because this is a scene that's known for killing people within it. Right. So imagine how bad the attitude has to be. So he leaves, and rather than do another black metal sort of thing, he just does this weird solo project where it's just him and synthesizers, and he makes what ends up spawning a scene called Dungeon Synth, which is great. It's like the background music to D&D games or something.
Right.
And so, but his thing that he does is he would wear a prosthetic troll face, and it was so awesome, and it looked kind of ridiculous, especially on the cover of Stargate, where he's got almost a Gene Simmons kind of Batwing thing, and he's floating. He wrote a book that had a whole mythology of his that I brought out, that had the whole background of his his whole sort of mystical world that he was writing about. It was awesome, and I kind of missed that wave. I remember I got, the first thing I got by him was when so that was all considered his era 1. Then he did what was his era 2, where while he was recording this stuff, and he put out stuff I think on Earache, the metal record label, and then he at the time had been listening to stuff like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, stuff like that. So that he shifted gears totally from this Dungeon Synth style into a more sort of Pretty Hate Machine era Nine Inch Nails kind of sound with an album called Smell of Rain. That was the first one I heard, and I was like, man, this is freaking awesome. It's just like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, that kind of stuff, but with this really theatrical bent. And then he continued that with The Grudge, and then did a few other albums after that and toured and stuff. Definitely probably the best. He maintained that sound better than any of the other bands that were contemporary. And then, but recently, he's been doing shows going back to his Era 1 stuff, which he kind of disavowed for a while. But now there's enough of a demand. So anywho, he did a tour across America. He's even putting out a new album that's going to be in the Era 1 style. And so we saw the show at, I can't remember what the place was called, but it was called the Lodge Room or something like that. But it was awesome, man. Downtown LA. It was put on by Das Bunker, so it was
wow.
It was kind of similar layout to the way that the Das Bunker used to be at the Catch One or wherever it was, where it was kind of like an old house or something, like an old mansion in LA or something. It was awesome. But so it's just him, a synthesizer. He walks out, doesn't say a word, in his makeup. There's 2 trees on the side of the stage as theatrics. He has a little back screen that has some videos going. And then just 2 trees. It was the best thing ever. And so he plays, there's a bunch of fog. He just kind of glares at the audience, plays his synth, and stares at everybody down. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't really engage with the audience other than to stare at you and glare at you. And then it's done. He just waves and walks off. It was the best one, man. And I was thinking, man, what a great, how fun would that be tour-wise? Because you don't need any gear. He doesn't need to tour with anything. He's got probably a suitcase of his synth and his computer or whatever else, and that's it, man. And then a dude to sell T-shirts, and the 2 of them can just travel across the country in a van. Hello.
Hello. Are you guys recording?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to photobomb it?
No.
Oh,
All right.
nice to see you. Yeah. So, anyways, it was awesome. Here's a clip from the show now. Okay, so so that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing is a little bit of news. So album cover art is being made as we speak for the Hollow Voices of a Dead Generation LP. Craig from Uncommon Interests he's got the records covered. I'm doing the album cover art. I redesigned the back because the more I looked at the back of that album, the more I realized I was never happy with it. So I didn't want to do a new design because I wanted to find something that was period appropriate. So the back of the album now has art we only had on like a t-shirt, but that'll be, it looks pretty cool, I think. And that way I was able to incorporate the new version of the band logo that we do. So that's coming soon. So I'm going to start doing like some kind of pre-order thing. I got to talk to Craig and see what he wants to do, but I want to start pumping it up. But for those of you guys, the 29 loyal viewers, that's coming soon. So if we don't sell 29 of these things, I'm going to be very disappointed.
And all of you.
Yes, I'll be sad. It's not going to be that much money. It's a freaking momentous occasion. And then, so that's the news for the record. And then the other news is, not really news, but anyways, so then the other shift I wanted to talk about is, so musically, horror punk is definitely like where like we belong as part of a live playing scene. But while we're not necessarily huge monumental fans of horror punk, other than the like bands that we've mentioned and obviously the big obvious ones, we've both been really into music outside of that. And so Mortiis is an example of that I feel like connects to it in the visual aspect of it, but clearly like the sound is totally different. Although what's more punk than just being a dude with a synthesizer and a troll mask? That's fucking awesome. But so we're also, both Jay and I, we have like this Venn diagram of music that we like, and there's a lot of stuff in both of the circles that neither one enjoys. He hates AFI.
Yeah.
Which they had a new EP that just came out that's kind of, I'm still on the fence about. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'll still buy their stuff.
Ralph will buy it, he'll hate it.
Yeah.
Then he'll love it.
Yeah. I'm still in I'm not hating it
every
yet.
AFI album.
I'm in the first phase where I really want to like it. I'm trying really hard to like it, but it just
first
isn't
phase is
doing
denial.
It. Yeah. I'm in the denial phase.
Then
it'll turn into anger at why can't they do something like they used to do? And then it'll just turn into I don't really care, but I'll buy the next thing that comes out.
Yeah.
But the part of our little crossover where, Guar and the Misfits reside also is 80s frickin' new wave.
Yes.
He's more of an encyclopedia. This is the Matt Pinfield of 80s new wave.
Yeah.
I'm more of the Wave Tops, radio hits, Casey Kasem, top 100 of the 80s guy. But retroactively, I've gotten a lot more into some deep cuts type stuff. But Jay's like the king of new wave. I'm the sort of poser that knows about it and likes it, but isn't super conversant in it. But we both are big fans. So
I've actually forgot a lot about it too.
really,
like the other day, when certain one-hit wonders come on, and I used to know every one of them and every lyric, and certain one-hit wonders come on, and it's like, who is that again? Is that Heaven 17 or is it?
Yeah, see, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Is that...
Heaven 17 did the song "Let Me Go." It was like their only. They had a couple others, but again, right now here I am, like I should have thrown a name out of someone I knew, but I used to know all of it, and it's almost like, did I stray too far from it to where I don't pay attention anymore? Because
I don't know.
We had talked.
It's time to get back in.
We had talked a couple weeks ago about how we were going to.
We're gonna do like a new wave little fun project, and I have some cool ideas for
and
that.
Some new wave discussions
type stuff, yeah.
And I know like the origins of it I totally remember.
Yeah.
When I got into the new romantic stuff, I was good, and then I kind of can't remember much beyond that. But I have recently, especially with White Lies and how ridiculous I've gotten towards them, and I start listening, and it's like, man, this sounds just like Ultravox to me. Some slower stuff, some upbeat stuff, very 80s dancey, new wave stuff. And then I started realizing there's a lot of bands I missed in the middle that are very, very similar.
They kind of kept the
like
fire burning,
like Modest
torch.
Mouse. I didn't really listen to them.
Yeah, so
and I heard it was like,
I've seen their name like a bajillion times and never listened to them.
I think it's one of the guys from the Smiths is in Modest
really?
Mouse. And I was like, yeah. The Killers were very similar, and I was never really into these bands, but I started listening, and I was like, man, this was kind
It
of
does have that aspect to it. The Bravery kind of had it.
the Bravery, and and I missed all of them. I heard them all, but none of them caught my attention like White Lies, and I think it's because I was looking for new wave, wave, and then I was like, oh, there's a new band. When I heard it, I was like, geez, man. So excited. We are going to the concert. I bought us tickets to take my lady here to see them
hot date.
on
Hot date.
like
May
May 8th or 9th. Yeah, so the next video will probably have footage from that show.
Oh yeah, sweet.
I'm excited, super excited about it. But it did make me do a top 5 bands in my head.
Okay, good. That's what. So this is what I wanted to get into too, because I was trying to think of my top 5, what I would consider new wave bands.
Well, how about this? Before we even say our own, this was the one thing I was wondering. Who would you say is the definition of the new wave band? And when you think of when you think of new wave, like who would be the visual poster boys?
Devo.
100%
Even though they
Devo.
hated that term.
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Yes.
Devo is the poster boys for it.
The Whip It video alone is the new wave video.
The number one new wave in my opinion.
Totally, I agree.
But what would you say is the number one new wave sound? Is it Devo also?
No, they were a little too like quirky and weird. I would say the Cars.
The Cars. Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think?
I
Maybe
honestly,
not. They had the synthesizers. They had the skinny neckties.
I think, and what's funny is this is where it gets hazy, because to me it would be someone like, I would think it's The Cure.
Oh yeah, I guess.
But is The Cure?
I would
not
throw them more in.
Are they new romantic? Are they new wave?
Post-punk?
Are they post-punk?
Yeah.
What's the difference between post-punk and new wave? Let's be honest.
Okay, so my definition of post-punk would be more like bands like Joy Division, New Order, The Cure, and Susie and the Banshees, stuff that came after the so-called decline of punk, which really was just after the record labels realized they couldn't really monetize the Sex Pistols like they thought they could.
So where does Oingo Boingo fall into that?
I think
Are they post-punk?
Yeah,
or are they new wave?
I'd call them new wave, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the fuck.
They're
I'd call
such
them.
a weird.
They're a weirdo band, but I think that's part of the new wave thing is to be weird.
Yeah.
It was like embracing. I think new wave. What qualifies for me as new wave, which could be completely wrong, but my little definition would be they were smarter than the average punk. It was more like
it was marketable punk.
Yeah, it was marketable, and I think that it got sort of poo-pooed by a lot of punker, guys that were moving instead of out of punk into hardcore stuff. So like at the same time that these like new wave bands were blossoming, so was the American hardcore scene, where it was like all independent, all DIY, way harder, way more aggressive. New wave wasn't as aggressive. It was more like, it definitely wasn't like corporate rock, even though they played the game to become, they got the money and they got the major label stuff. But it was definitely like a very like, I thought in sort of an intelligent kind of like it wasn't like music for jocks and tough guys. And if the jocks and tough guys listened to it, it was like the way that like when jocks and tough guys started listening to like Nine Inch Nails, where it was like, hey, you can't get into this scene, you don't get it.
Right.
But they bought it because it was on the radio.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like radio. It was like more radio friendly in sound, but still like weird and out there. I mean, a lot of those freaking bands are just really. I like the fact that Devo had a hit like "Whip It" is like bananas.
Do you know they're considered a one-hit wonder?
Well, maybe I guess
no,
one
to
hit.
us, no.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But in the world of
I believe
80s,
it.
they had a top 100 one-hit wonders.
Yeah, and probably nothing ever again.
They were number one with.
Whip It.
And it was one hit wonder song.
Yeah.
And Whip It was number one, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
but what's funny is Falco wasn't on there because he's
had more than one.
He's
hit?
a two-hit wonder. How is Falco? Because
That's
Der
insane.
Commissar was his other one.
Commissar.
Except after the fire, the guys that covered it, they were in the list covering a Falco song.
I thought that was the Clash for like until about 6 months ago.
The Clash?
Yeah, that did Der Commissar.
Oh. No.
I thought forever that was it, and it was not.
I just read an article, and I don't know much about them. Glenn Hetrick had redirected towards an article he read about Joy Division. And I've never listened to Joy Division.
Oh yeah,
I've listened, but I
love
haven't listened. And this guy was like, if you listen to him and you get it, then you're a Joy Division fan. Otherwise, you just go, I don't get it.
What's up with this guy's vocals?
I guess when they practice and when they wrote stuff, they never listened to each other. They just wrote their own thing. And
that's why when they play, it's such oddball things.
They're not good on their instruments.
Well, they are. They're like
not as a group.
Maybe not. Well, maybe I don't know. Peter Hook is like probably one of my top 5 favorite bass players.
I was just watching him, and it's just like the guitar strumming is brutal.
Yeah,
it's very
angular. And it's
what I mean? And if that was by design, then cool. But from the article I read, it sounded like they were just like, we're just gonna do every one of us does our own thing.
Yeah, that was the case. And I think, but that also gave him their sound. And the reason why I like Peter Hook as a bass player is that he doesn't play traditional, because typically a bass player follows a guitar player.
Right.
So if the guitar is playing a G chord, the bass player just plays a G note and then rides that until the guitar player plays an A chord and then he moves to an A. You know what I mean? Whereas Peter Hook was doing these little like riffs, like their most popular song was "Level Tear Us Apart," and that it's like all bass. A lot of his stuff, because he would play really high. Most bass players. They play very low. He would actually play fairly high. Like he'd play high in the neck, so it's like, almost in the same octave as the guitar. He played with a lot of chorus. It got kind of grungy distortion, so his bass almost sounded like just a low guitar. And I think that Bernard's guitar playing was more just kind of angular, weird little lines on top of it. So really the root, instead of the bass following the guitar, is almost the other way around, where the guitar is just these shrill little like angular notes put on top, and you had the real driving sound of it was just his bass playing. The actual song progressions, when you think of the melody of the song, is typically the bass in that band.
All right, so
and that's what makes. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's what I think makes, because then they became New Order, and if you listen to like the New Order songs,
that's
like
weird.
I know, totally
me.
A shift, right? But like if you think of like True Faith, or like Bizarre Love Triangle, those bass lines, which are super recognizable, they at that point had a lot of synths going on, so then the synth would take over the low end, which is almost like the way we do with stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of how I sort of see us, where your synth goes lower than my bass, so instead of going low all the time with bass, I'll go high, which to me, even though nobody that would listen to us would be like, oh, I can pick up a Joy Division sort of influence here. It doesn't sound like it, but it definitely intentionally is like that, because we have so many synths in the band, and there's almost so much low end occupied by that. If I just played low end, it wouldn't even do anything. Right. But it gives me a chance to kind of do little runs up higher, almost where like Tom's guitar is.
Yeah,
so
I can't be in front of your bass cab anymore
because it doesn't make sense.
You're all over the place, and not in a bad way. But I'm just like, I'm trying to listen and I'm trying to hit the vocal notes.
We're at that point. Hold on, I gotta pause it. We gotta do a clap.
We're clapping.
And actually, I'm gonna grab something because I got one more thing. I gotta get my clapper in.
All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about real quick on that was Joy Division singer Ian Curtis.
Ian Curtis, yeah.
Okay. So Ian Curtis died right before Level Tear Us Apart was released.
Yeah.
So did he ever perform it live other than for the music
video? They did,
video?
yeah. No, there's a bunch of live recordings of it.
Oh, okay.
The single itself didn't come out until then. And they did a weird, like, it's funny, Peter Hook has a good book about Joy Division, about his years in Joy Division, and one of the things he always, like, laments about the band is the way they did everything so backwards. Like, all their sort of hit songs, like Dead Souls is one, and that's the song that Trent Reznor or Nine Inch Nails covered for the Crow soundtrack.
Right.
That's a Joy Division song. And then Level Tear Us Apart, there was, like, two really awesome singles, but neither one was on an album. They just released them as these singles outside of that, and they're like, yeah, why would we record like the most popular songs we ever have, and then people go to buy the album and it's not on there, and the stuff on there doesn't really sound like that at all. It's like, it's awesome. I love it.
Well, see, I've always kind of wondered, and I always was bothered when I'd buy a single and then it would come out on the album, and the
Yeah.
single has like 3 songs, or you
Yeah, you're
know,
like,
like the
eh.
cassette single, the singles.
Yes, I used to
And
get those
there's
all the
3
time.
songs on there, and
Yeah.
then the album comes out, and you only get like a bonus 4.
Yeah.
I'm like, I already paid for I
For
paid
for the good
$2.99
stuff,
for
usually.
this. Now you
Yeah.
want me to pay $7.99 for songs I already own?
It's true. That's why. The
And then
music
the other
industry
songs on there are
collapsed.
garbage, and then
Yeah.
you
You're like,
and
this is a
then
bunch of filler crap.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they used to happen all the time.
Um,
You kids that were only around in the internet era have no idea the just anger you would have at spending like $17 in 1993
Yeah.
for a CD because you heard the song and it was awesome and everything else on that record sucks.
Yep.
Or because the cover album looked badass.
There are
and
so
everything.
many bands that let you down like that.
Yeah, man. Seriously, there are a lot. I have so many. But the flip side to that is it forced you to sort of spend time with that crappy album because you spent your money on it, and you're like, well, maybe you start. So I think I like a lot of stuff that I do like because I just happen to have that CD, and that's what I would listen to a lot.
I forced
But
myself to like bands because of that. Like
Yeah.
certain albums, well, you know,
Yep.
where I listened to the whole thing, I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And I go back and listen, and like, this is not good at all.
Or I still think it's amazing, even though I know now if that band came out and I heard the same way, I would have been like, everything they do is trash. I don't.
Yeah.
This music has become way more disposable. I think that's Violent Femmes was like that. You know, it's like I really loved fucking Add It Up, and
Right.
but then the rest of it I'm like, that's stupid. But now
I
it's like
wasn't
now
really
I
a
like
big,
it.
I
I'm
wasn't
not a huge
I,
fan.
I
But
wasn't a big fan of them either when they came through.
okay, so can I throw out some?
Yeah.
Wait, we still have to do our new.
Oh,
so
okay.
Scatterbrained.
So-
I need to keep cards.
So
'Cause
right.
I am terrible at staying on track. Okay.
So if we have, but here's the thing: 29 people still sit through it.
That's true. Thanks,
and we
guys.
appreciate
all
you.
29 of you. We love you.
So I think that it's hard to define what falls under new wave. So I think we're allowed to have our own opinions.
Yep.
We don't have to argue it. On top 5 bands.
And you know this is going to be deep cuts.
Yeah. Not mine.
I'm going to do a drinking game. I'm taking a sip every band I've heard of. This will be the most sober
me?
drinking game. Yeah, let's go.
Or you're
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
hammered
Let's see.
drunk.
Oh, really? Never
You'll
mind.
know all 5
I'll take
of
it
them.
back. Okay.
No,
I'll,
I don't.
I'll
I
drink
don't
if I
stray.
haven't heard of it.
I don't stray from what I started with.
Okay, what do you got?
All right. So number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go number 1.
Okay, let's
It's
go.
easier that way.
Okay, let's do it. Top.
Number 1 is Oingo Boingo.
Has to be, yes.
Oddly
Okay, for
enough,
you.
because I'm a huge Adamant fan. But when I now as an adult, when I listen, I'll listen to Oingo Boingo more than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say they're number 1.
Yep.
Adamant or Adam and the Ants, either one. More Adam and the Ants is easily number 2.
Yeah.
Ultravox is easily number 3
Yep.
for me. Devo is number 4, and number 5. Ugh. Am I allowed to say?
You're allowed to say anything you want.
That's right. We said we were allowed to.
That's right.
Oh, that's rough. I enjoy New Order quite a bit.
I love it.
But I'm realizing I like a lot of the Pet Shop Boys, and I've never owned an album.
Really? I've
I've never owned an album. I know nothing, but I know so many of their songs. God, it's tough. I'm not really Depeche Mode. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's going to be one, and it's going to hit, and I'm going to go, that's definitely number 5.
Okay, we'll save it.
Okay, right
I'll
now
give
it'd
you
be
my
White
top.
Lies.
White Lies is good.
Is Ian Dury considered?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was my guess for number 5 for
It
you.
would
Was
probably
Ian
be
Dury.
Ian Dury then.
Okay.
Ian Dury and the
Which
Blockheads.
that to me, that he is, that he like typifies the weirdness of new wave.
Yeah.
Sort of like that music war. If you look at the bands on that, it's like considered new wave, but like most of the bands on there, I don't think most people would consider new wave.
Well, the Cramps.
Yeah, but I guess I would kind of throw them in there.
But isn't like DI on that?
Yeah,
And
it's almost like
Fear
new wave. Yeah,
and-
because if you read contemporaneous articles from like the early '80s, they were calling like punk bands new wave bands.
Sure.
Like it's almost like I don't think that people in the music press. I don't think anybody had a hard definition of either punk or new wave. Because if you think about it, when you go to like 1975 punk music articles are going to mention Iggy and the Stooges, but also Blondie and
Right.
Talking Heads. I mean, Talking Heads I don't consider punk, but they came from the same scene as the Ramones, you know.
Right.
And so, but I don't know. So, and I would consider them, I guess, more new wave, but almost like, I don't know. And I don't even know where the crossover line between 80s pop and new wave ends, because to me, it's almost like anything that was 80s pop between like 1980 and 1984 has to be new wave, unless it turned into like, you know, Paula Abdul or something.
And that was, I mean, Blondie is the perfect example of in the punk scene, in the hip hop scene.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of
in the new wave scene and in the popular music scene.
Big pop.
Like
massive.
they no walls there at all. They were everything, which is weird.
It is weird. I don't even know how to classify a band like that. Yeah, and it's like they have like 2 songs that I really like.
Yeah.
But one of the songs that I really like by them came out at like way late in their career. That song Maria, that's a really
love
good
that song.
I did too.
But
most of their other stuff I don't like.
The song Atomic by them, which is not, it's popular, but it wasn't ever really a big radio hit.
But then stuff like Heart of Glass, it sounds like disco.
Yeah.
Like I can't get behind that.
Yeah.
But and then when I've read articles where they talk about the Ramones as a new wave band, and I think only because Ramones declared themselves punk, or became so synonymous with the term punk. I don't know. It's weird.
They were a punk band.
Yeah.
But punk was labeled as the Sex Pistols. That's really what it was.
Although
it was
Ramones predate it, and the term being ascribed to them definitely predates it.
But the absolute visual side of it is Sid Vicious.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He's the poster boy.
He is exactly it.
And holy shit, he sucks. Every time I can always tell I will have nothing in common with you when I talk to somebody, and they're like a bass player, and they're like, yeah, my favorite bass player is Sid Vicious. It's like, you've never even... Why would you like that?
He couldn't even play.
That was his
He wasn't good. And he
was famous for shooting heroin and dying.
Yeah.
And maybe possibly murdering his wife, but maybe not. Who the fuck knows?
He beat up Adamant because Adamant told Nancy at one point, because Adamant was a bass player originally in Bazooka Joe.
Oh.
In his first band.
Deep Cuts.
Yeah.
Never heard of Bazooka Joe.
Adamant told Nancy, if he ever wants to learn how to play bass, I'll teach him. Mm-hmm. And he got pissed off and then showed up at a flat that Adamant was like sleeping on the floor. And,
"Oi, mate, fuck you!"
No, he like beat
I'm
him up.
I'm a professional bass player.
He beat him up while he was asleep.
Oh,
he started kicking him and stuff like that. It's
yeah, Adamant's like one of those guys that looks like he would cut you with a freaking box cutter,
right?
And you could still kick his ass while bleeding out because he's such a freaking candy ass. Like, and he's probably like nodding off as you're beating him to death. I hate that. I like the Sex Pistols, but I hate Sid Vicious, man. Right. I think he's a fucking dope. Except I do like his song "My Way," his version of it, just because it's so classically shitty.
Did you know about he and Freddie Mercury with the recording? That they
no.
They were. Queen was recording. Queen was the top at that, and
Queen's like,
Sid Vicious.
Because the session musician.
No.
Sid.
The Sex Pistols were recording also. And somehow the Sex Pistols were known. And Freddie Mercury was like standing in the hallway smoking something. I'm going to get part of it wrong. But Freddie Mercury...
I bet he was smoking something.
They told the story. He told the story. And Freddie Mercury's telling of the story is awesome. They were both recording there. And Sid Vicious walked by and made a comment about, your music sucks and blah, 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 blah. And if you ever want to be on a real album. And he said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't I come sing on your album and you guys come play on my album? And then he goes, and then Sid Vicious goes, do you know who I am? And he goes, yeah, your name's like Silly Sydney or something like that.
Oh my God, I love it.
And Freddie Mercury said, I stepped up to him and he backed down.
I bet.
And Freddie Mercury was like
roundhouse him with his dong right
in
his face.
And could you imagine being like Freddie Mercury, who was the most flamboyant, and not even in the gay way, just he was very very whatever.
Yeah.
And then being like to turn and be like, oh no, I know who you are.
Yeah.
And then Sid Vicious stepped down.
That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah, makes me love Freddie even more.
How is that not publicized as much? That should be out there all the time. Like
the Sid Vicious estate has been burying that.
The absolute punk, the poster boy for punk rock, back down to the.
That's exactly right. He's
poster boy for anthem rock.
By the King.
That's awesome.
Okay, so here.
Top 5 for you.
I'm gonna do my top 5. Okay, number 1, Devo.
Yeah.
Even though I know they hate the term new wave, I don't care. It's stuck with you. You guys became the poster child. Devo is such a freaking great band. They're oh man, I love that band. Okay, so Devo's numero uno. Number 2, Gary Newman.
Oh yeah, I didn't think.
Also, not really. I don't know. Well, I guess he definitely
new wave.
He was definitely typifying new wave.
You could easily say he's new wave.
For sure. New Order, because I don't feel like Joy Division. I would throw Joy Division in above New Order as far as like a hierarchy of bands I love, but I don't consider them a new wave necessarily, so
Would
I don't
they
throw
be
them in there.
considered post-punk?
Yeah, I think Joy Division sort of defines post-punk.
Right.
That's like where they belong. That's why I kind of get bent when I see them on the top of punk lists, because I don't feel like they don't fit in punk to me the way that like the Ramones and Black Flag and the Misfits do, and Sex Pistols. They're not that, but they definitely did their own thing, even though they were influenced by punk. So I consider them post-punk. The same way I'd be like, if The Cure topped a punk list, it's like, what? They don't really fit in. So that's just a little sort of nitpicky thing for me. But I consider Joy Division definitely like the poster children of post-punk. So wait, what did I say? Devo, Gary Newman, New Order, and then man, I thought of my 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 earlier, and now I'm drawing a blank. What were they?
I have no idea.
No. Well, you gotta still dig up your numero 5.
My number 5. I wish there was like a greatest.
I know we need like a list to like choose from. Oh, Oingo Boingo, that was my 4. Yeah,
That's
and
easy.
I don't know. I can't remember
That's
my
an
5
easy
either.
4.
Yeah, that has to be a 4. Maybe even throw them above. Maybe I'm gonna switch places with New Order. I would say because they're a little more new wavy to me in my mind, and
OMD. That's another one I like.
Shit, yes. Throw
I
in
like
that. Number
OMD
5.
a
Let's
lot.
make that match it up.
Okay, I'll match it up.
OMD definitely.
They're so good.
2 dudes.
Yeah.
A tape player for a drum machine in the first album. Plus, they were also their first single, with the one, the Electricity. That was recorded by Martin Hannett, who recorded all of Joy Division's stuff. There you go. Little crossover.
There it is. Yeah.
That's it.
I
Top
think
fives.
OMD is number 5.
I like it. I like to,
Because-
especially early OMD,
Yeah.
because Electricity, that's a freaking, and Electricity and Enola Gay, those 2 songs, forget about it.
I think that we're mentioned Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
And I think that Depeche Mode, my first CD I ever owned was the Violator CD. My brother bought it for me on my birthday,
Nice.
whenever it was. But Depeche Mode's early stuff, I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Like way early.
Just can't get enough kind of stuff.
Way before that.
There's stuff before that?
Way before that.
Whoa, what is it?
When
Like
you get
banging
into
on
stuff
pots and
like
pans?
New Life, and I'm just
I don't
going to
know
show
much
you the
about them.
videos.
I'll be honest, they're like
Yeah.
one of those bands that I think I should probably like, but I just never really. Every time I've heard them, I'm like, that song's pretty good.
You're gonna see.
But I've never really like listened to them very much.
the video of 4 of them standing there with it was
I've seen that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where they have like, there's no drums, no anything, and they're all
Just-
like
and one's playing
Kraftwerk. Shit, that was
It's
the other
very
one.
Kraftwerk,
Kraftwerk was my original number 5. It just popped in my head.
It
But
is-
is that even new wave? What the hell is that? That's probably not even new wave. So kick that out. I'm sticking with OMD. I like
well, Kraftwerk. I don't remember which video it is. Is it Trans Euro Express, the one where they're all standing?
it. Yeah, and they're in like red ties and black shirts. Yeah.
And these Depeche Mode early
Or Autobahn or
videos,
something.
there's just the ones do.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, they're like hammering out 16th notes
And they're
instead.
like single finger. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, they
And
didn't even know how to play when they
No.
started. I've seen like a little documentary on them, and I
I
liked
do
it.
have to say, man, I as much as I wasn't a huge fan of theirs, I've seen them in concert. They're great.
Yeah, I've never seen them. I'd like to.
But I totally respect what they did.
Yeah.
So different from what everyone else did.
It was a huge crossover from their sound into the stuff that I like as far in the like sort of industrial rock world,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously like that was like the big comparison for Pretty Hate Machine, and also like when what's his name, Al Jorgensen with Ministry went towards like Twitch and started pushing it. They were always like compared, both of those guys. Maybe I'm just imagining this. I definitely know that Nine Inch Nails was, but to Depeche Mode, because it sort of married the Depeche Mode poppiness, Pretty Hate Machine did, married Depeche Mode's sort of poppy catchiness with the aggression of like Ministry and the other like sort of industrial bands, or like that era of bands like, you know, Front 242 and stuff like that.
I think that with new wave bands, what was cool about it is there was a very specific style, but everyone was different.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
No
hard to
one-
classify as
It's
like a sound.
It's like people went, okay, this is what a new wave band is, but we're gonna wear all white and
and skinny neckties
yeah.
instead of black leather.
And then it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna dress like pirates. We're gonna do
Yeah.
it, but there was one like Zombina and the it was like Zombina and the something or others, and they all wore like fezzes, and they painted their faces like
old like sugar skull kind of looking things.
Yeah, but
I
like
love that
old
shit.
school, like tiki zombies almost.
Yeah,
and it was just like, how weird is
Yeah,
that?
it was just a weird scene. That's what I think. Okay, so
The New Wave Theater is the best thing to watch, by the way.
Yes, on freaking Night Flight.
Yes.
Do you have that? It's like $5 a month. Order it.
Yes.
Perfect. It's so good. I watch that all the time.
New
And
Wave Theater is the best.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many just like, what the hell?
And I can see why, people that were into rock hated it because it was so weird. It was like, it got rid of the machismo that was in rock, and it was way more like goofy, nerdy. Oh, dude, it's another really good one. Is I think they're called, what was it? Not Babylon. Babel. Did you ever see the movie Howling 2?
Yes.
Your Sister is a Werewolf?
Yes.
Which is also the name of a new awesome synthwave band. Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf. I used to I don't know why I love that movie, but it was always on like at like midnight on HBO or Showtime or something, or like USA or one of those things. It was such a cheesy one. I've seen that one 100 times. I've seen the original Howling like maybe half of the way through, but I've seen Howling 2 like a bajillion times, and there's like two scenes. They have a club scene in both of them, and it's almost to me like where like World of Darkness with Vampire the Masquerade came from, where you've got this club scene where there's this band playing, and they're like a super new wavy band, like a guy with a guitar and everything, and then you've got like the crowd like cheering and dancing and stuff, but they're all like werewolves. It's so great. Oh, there's a great do you have Prime?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a great documentary on right now about World of Darkness, about the Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game.
What?
Oh, show it to Cole.
I didn't know. I
Get
have
him
to
into
watch
it.
it.
Get him into it.
I didn't even know it
So
existed.
good. It's
I gotta
called World of
watch it.
Darkness. Okay, so here,
World
wait.
of Darkness.
Can I change my? I steamroller you.
Yes,
over
I don't care.
I'm a horrible conversationalist.
I want to say one thing real quick though.
I get very fired up.
I
Okay.
keep wanting to say something when you were talking about New Wave being not for the jocks.
Yeah.
Oingo Boingo, the jocks didn't listen to them until like Weird Science came out.
Yeah.
And
right.
once Kelly LeBrock is in skimpy clothes and a funny movie and Weird Science, then everyone all of a sudden is an Oingo Boingo. Oh, I've listened to him forever.
Yeah, I hate that.
Like there's that rapper Lil Peep that died.
Yeah, don't I know it?
No one listened to him. None of my students
Bananas
listened
dead.
until he died, and then they're all like, "I listened to him from
Dude,
the
I have
beginning."
students that worship him.
They get angry at people.
Yeah.
None of these people were listening to him. I've been listening to him. I'm keeping real, and it's like,
I guess
you weren't listening.
I'll be honest
to
though,
him.
for the 18-year-olds of this generation, Lil Peep is like their Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
They love that guy.
Yep.
I think
It's
he
crazy.
sucks. Sorry, kids.
No one listened to him. I'm sorry.
But you know what? He's actually a lot more listenable than I thought. Just looking at him, don't get face tattoos. That is so fucking dumb. But looking at him, I just hated him. And then I just see videos of him, like, after he died, about, like, he's sitting there with a Xanax in his mouth and like, look at me, I'm doing Xanax. And then, surprise, surprise, dies of a Xanax overdose. But if
Have you seen 6ix9ine?
Yes.
You know
same
he's
shit.
got that tattooed on his face and he's in prison now.
Yeah, because didn't he, like, date, like, an underage chick or
Yeah,
some
but
shit?
6ix9ine on your face in prison.
Yeah,
Not
enjoy your time there. You're gonna be popular. He's a hit. He's a hit in the joint.
Is this more of a suggestion?
Yeah, I know.
So
You
go
get
ahead.
it.
Sorry.
But so yeah, I mean they're sort of fairly listenable, or Lil Peep was, but yeah, the same thing happened with Nine Inch Nails when Closer came out, or when Downward Spiral came out.
Yep.
Closer, the song became like a radio hit, and then all of a sudden you have all these like football dudes that are like, oh yeah, fuck you like an animal, I love it, and you're like, damn it, it's like you're stealing. You guys 2 years ago beat anybody that was wearing a Nine Inch Nails shirt up, but now all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like, love, it's your favorite
it's your
song.
new anthem.
It pumps you up in the gym, bro. It's like, I
jeez.
hate you. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah.
Little punk news.
Little punk
Sad
news.
day.
Sad day. Uh-oh. I don't like sad day.
Remember Maximum Rock and Roll?
Yeah.
So we've actually had a good review in there, or fairly decent reviews, 2 reviews. They have like one of the most extensive like collections of punk records of all time, because you can send your record in here on vinyl and they'll keep it forever. 2 copies, like one for a listener and then one goes in their little library.
That's awesome.
This is officially the last printed issue of Maximum Rock and Roll. It's the end of an era. And the punk scene, and it's kind of cool. You got Iron Lung, who I love. It's like they've got like a thing on the back, a little tribute. But okay, so Maximum Rock and Roll, for those of you that haven't read it, it's like 100%, man. If you could think of anything, so like I said earlier, I would get drummed out of most punk shows just due to my politics, because I lean fairly to the right. This makes Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez look like freaking Ronald Reagan or like William F. Buckley or something. This is like as so far left that it's laughable. It's like a parody of itself. This shit has been like beyond lefty, but I still love this magazine. I've been buying it forever, and it just typifies punk. And where the punk scene really, I feel like it left me behind as far as like, I haven't found a cool, interesting new punk band that I've been like, yes, in ages, because I don't know, there's just not much out there. And then they were so snobby. It's like even the bands I did like NoFX or something that had some semblance of musical, something good about it, they'd be like, nope, lame. We'd rather listen to this thing that was recorded on one of those old like tape recorders from the 70s where you just hit record and it's like 2 blocks away and the kids are jamming down here. It's pure feedback. I love it. I don't know.
Over an old Teddy.
Yeah, but it is a bummer to see it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A Teddy Rushman thing.
It's all yeah. It's funny that you talk about with punk rock and politics. Like I've never gotten into the political side of music at all.
I think that's why I enjoy the horror punk
all.
aspect.
Right.
Because it's so anti-political. It's just like, who gives a shit about that? It's so stupid.
And that's what's funny is, especially with my new wave love, is Oingo Boingo's like the most edgy new wave I've listened to.
Yeah.
And the only reason I find it funny is because there's certain songs on there that...
Well, think of a song like Nothing's Wrong with Capitalism. Can you imagine?
I
love that.
I think that's a great song.
I love that song too. Can you imagine like trying to like tout the values of capitalism in 2019? You'd either be I don't know, like we're so polarized now. You'd either be held up as like a freaking, the greatest new thing ever, or you'd be like shot at by like Antifa because how dare you suggest that capitalism is somehow good.
Well, yeah, and I think about a lot of their songs we're going to have a whole episode on some of their questionable songs.
Little Girls.
That's the one, like...
That's what
like,
I don't even
I
like
listen to
it.
Oingo Boingo in class now, or
Me
like
too.
when I'm cleaning, and then Little Girls comes on, it's like, oops.
Same here. Yeah, I know.
As a teacher now, you're like, whoa, that was an awkward song.
One of my students, the one that knows Cole, she's a huge Oingo Boingo fan. Her dad's a big Oingo Boingo fan. And so we were listening. She's like, let's listen to Oingo Boingo today. I'm like, all right, cool. So I put it on. And then, but that song comes on. I'm like, there is no way I want to have any student hear this song with me in here. Forget it.
If you listen to the Good for Your Soul album, it starts with Who Do You Want to Be?
That's a great song.
And you can listen to it from start to finish, and you have nothing that you have to go, oof. Mm-hmm. Oof. What was the one song? And there was always, You Don't Believe What You're... The Imposter? It's on...
I don't know that one.
It's on like Nothing to Fear. I don't remember which album it's on. And there's just stuff I never caught. And then like the one day the other day I was listening to it, and it says, you're an imposter, you don't believe what you're at. And it's about people that write, review music. And at one point he says, your head is lodged like firmly way up your butt or something like
Awesome.
that. And I've never caught it. And the other day I was just like...
That's
So
awesome.
I had to rewind. It's like your head is lodged way up your butt, where it belongs. And I was like, "That's."
I love it. It's perfect.
But it's funny like that's about as political as I get with music, and I think that what I love about Oingo Boingo the most is that all their songs were well thought out lyrically, well written lyrically.
Yeah, very intelligent. Danny Elfman's a genius.
And I hated all the Boingo stuff. I hated it. Because
I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Well, because I was an Oingo Boingo purist, because you had to be. You couldn't be a new Misfits era and old Misfits era. You weren't allowed to.
I like them both. Yeah.
Right?
I like them both.
And then now, I when I put on Shuffle Play with Oingo Boingo, I started listening, especially the Danny Elfman
like Insanity
solo album.
Yep.
I didn't realize, I'm like, damn, there's like 5 really good songs in that album.
Gratitude's awesome. I love that album.
And then
or that song.
I started looking at the newer stuff, and I'm okay with it all.
Yeah, they're a good example of why I think political music is boring.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't really get into bands like frickin' Dead Kennedys or any band that was like, oh, fuck you, Reagan. It's like, okay, most kids that I have in my school don't even know who fucking Ronald Reagan is.
Right.
And so that's boring. And then I also would never want to listen to a band that had a political ideology that sang about stuff I believe in, because then it just feels like propaganda. Why would I want to listen to something and just be like, fuck yeah, individualism, libertarianism, woo! I mean, if I find out that the artist is of that political bent, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like it that they're like into individual freedoms and they value the Constitution. But if they wrote songs about it, like hold on to your guns, kids, Second Amendment rules, I'd be like, oh my God, this is the dumbest shit ever. So
Right.
that's why I never really, I hate that political side of things because it becomes it's either preaching to me and lecturing me with something I disagree with, or it's lecturing me about stuff you're preaching to the choir. Who gives a shit? The only reason part of what I think is valuable about music is the universality of it. It's the one time where I can hang out next to some complete crazy progressive lefty and we can both fist pump at the same song.
Right.
But then when it comes time to they stop in between songs and they're gonna tell me I'm a fucking Nazi because I want to preserve the Second Amendment, then I'm just like, no shit, fuck, what the hell, man. So I'm the odd man out again. But then when the music starts again, I can get into it. But as soon as it's a political thing, if you're gonna write a song about gun control, why on earth would I listen to it,
Right.
pro or con? It's nuts. It's ridiculous. Not even a huge gun control dude, or pro gun right guy. I kind of am, but I'm just like a constitutionalist. Give me the Constitution. Oh boy, it's time. This guy. Couple
You're
of
on
scotches
one
in, I'm
tonight.
ready. Woo.
How you feeling?
Fired up, feeling good.
Need to get some op.
What's our time at?
We're-
Dang it, we got 5 minutes to go. Should we wrap it?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we can't take this much time off because
I know we got
Good.
too much to talk about.
Well, you're also a little fiery tonight.
Well, yeah, I know.
I've realized. I understand that I'm shrinking away.
You are
to
very
nothing.
skinny, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't.
I
either.
like it
My
for you.
kid,
I don't like that I'm
yeah.
getting.
I'm not
becoming
doing
like
this
the
on
fat
purpose, but I am watering the plants with my shirt off. I'm coming out front, and I'm trying
Looking
to find.
good. You wear your little silky
No,
little short
but I
shorts.
should.
You should get some of those 80s
Dolphins?
style. Yeah, the
Yeah.
little with the little white trim on some green shorts.
I was trying to
Pull up your
plan-
tube
I was trying
socks.
to plan places where I can walk around with a shirt off, just because I haven't.
Just go
weighed-
jogging around the neighborhood with a little fuzzy
Right.
sweatband.
There's a black guy that runs around Laverne that's all muscular and way too good looking.
You're like
and he runs
American
around in
Beauty
little
guy.
shorts. He keeps running, and I watch him, and
Do
I'm
it.
like, damn it! I was
Get
like,
there.
save some of the beauty for the rest of us. So I'm just gonna go run now.
Do it. Fire it up, man. Get two little 2.5 pound weights and run with them and
That's
stuff.
right. But yeah, no.
Get your cassette tape Walkman.
Yeah, I've
The
been
little
shrinking
fuzzy
over here.
fuzzy ear things.
But yeah, I think that we'll definitely be doing more of these. They'll be shorter,
Yeah.
but we're
Yeah.
making up for lost time. Because when we do this, it literally is the only time that we're getting
it's
a
the only time
chance
we
to
get to
get
hang out.
together. We don't rehearse any of this
No.
ahead of time. It was just us talking, and we hope that you enjoy listening to us talking. All 29 of you. But
Your
more
favorite 29 people in the world.
yeah, more people that get involved. It'd be cool. Tell people about it. I think we should do T-shirts.
We're gonna do. Oh, I have another idea. Yes, let's do. We're gonna do T-shirts, and it's gonna be. We should do the mighty 29 or something like
Yeah.
that. And actually, those 29 of you watching this, immediately just comment below with your name so that I can scroll up on the next video the real 29, and it'll just
Oh, yeah.
go up credits of the hardcore crew. So.
And maybe we'll even see about free T-shirts.
Yeah, no, totally. I'll fucking
do it. For the first 29, I'll go in
split
half.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
first 29. So you put your name in that 20. Whoever the 29 is on this one, you get your name in there. That's getting a free T-shirt.
And I'm gonna be because I'm out. I need to log in.
I'll
When
mail
are
that
you
shit
uploading
out.
this?
Yeah, I
my
get one too.
T-shirt.
Because I look at it on my other account to give us the extra views.
Okay, now you can put your name in. Just kidding.
Okay, well I guess that's it.
Yeah. Oh,
Have
it looks
yourself
like you
one?
were doing this.
Yeah, I'll cheers with. No, I'm cheers
No,
with
cheers
this.
with that.
I've had more of this.
There
than
wasn't
water.
any good noise.
Wait, let's get a little ASMR video. Hold on. All right, thanks for viewing. Oh, video ended, so that's great.
Probably right during
back,
the ASMR.
back to some weird ass 30s freaking puppet show. Enjoy, everybody.
Enjoy your 30s puppet show.
Have a wonderful evening. See you later. Bye bye.